You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Welcome to Minute To Skim It.
Hello.
Where it once meant we were going to read books in 1 minute and then make educated guesses at what the books are about, and now actually are real reviews. So welcome to year 8 of Minute To Skim It. Hopefully we entertain you. Weirdly, our names are backward. I am going to be playing the part of Shanice today.
And I am Miss Jen. Hello.
There are a lot of really great books out this week. Just a heads up for you guys that have local comic shops all over the Americas. As we are eyeballing a UPS strike, it looks like UPS is getting slower and slower about bringing their stuff to us. So it's not their fault. They're just trying to jockey for what they are owed, and that's cool. But just know that if you get to your LCS tomorrow and they're a little discombobulated and don't have the books ready, that's why. There's been a little bit of a hiccup in the getting the things to them, because we didn't get our books from Diamond until
a little after 4.
A little after 4. So yeah, I crammed those books in because there's some really good releases out there. I do want to mention, I don't usually talk about graphic novel releases, but every once in a while there's something that comes out that you guys have been waiting for all of time. And this is one of them. Lore Olympus is based on an amazing webtoons. Super popular, incredibly popular, but I know you guys have been waiting for the graphic version of it so you can have it and read it over and over and over and over again, but not when you have your iPad with you or whatever. So volume 4 of Lore Olympus is out tomorrow in your LCS. You're going to be super happy about that. It's loosely a love story about people you would find on Olympus. So, your gods.
So it's a modern retelling of what's her name, Persephone in Hades. It's really, really good. It absolutely is worth the hype, and I'm really happy that it's being reprinted in a physical format. And if you love Greek myths, highly recommend it. And the art is stunning. Like, you can see a teaser of it.
Mm-hmm. So do you know anything about how Rachel came up with this idea? Is it just like they were reading, Lightning Thief and was like, we need a romance instead?
I think it's just these are myths and stories that can stand on their own, right? But it'd be interesting to kind of see it through a modern lens. So
Mm-hmm.
you have Hades, who's I think a CEO and just things like that, and you just kind of go from there. I know, Percy Jackson, they've done it, and there have been some other ones that haven't had quite the the reach of Lore Olympus and Percy Jackson, but I always dig it. I like seeing modern takes on myths and stories.
Since the Percy Jackson graphic novels are out of print and unavailable, this is your way to, get your God fix. By the way, if that's news to you, you should go to all your LCSs and see if they have them, if you ever have a hope of having those. So they did make an individual book for most of the books in the series, but they're real tough to get right now, as you can imagine. All right, there's some that we did, both of us, read. So, and this is one of them. Books every once in a while come around where you're like, why hasn't this already been made decades ago? Because it makes all the sense for there to be a crossover. This is kind of one of those, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter. What is your take on this?
So I'll preface this by saying I was never like a turtle kid at all. So I know I feel like a failed '90s child by saying that.
Hey, Jenna!
Oh, thank you. I'm glad she's stable, Jenna. Always happy to hear that. So hi. Yeah, I was never like a turtle kid, growing up. In Street Fighter, yeah, I played it, but I wasn't like a huge fan. So with this crossover, I'm like, oh, this could be fun, like fighting and things like that. That was okay. I don't know how you felt about it. Like,
I like when they somehow manage to take something that could be super mundane, like just battling two groups because they can battle. At least this one, they give it a premise of there is a big tournament that they're both attending, and both the Street Fighter characters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are very serious about this. But there's also in the background some characters from those universes that are really not intending for the tournament to be for a tournament. There's something else that's nefarious that they've got going on. And so I'm really hoping that the versus part of this becomes they get together and fight where, the bad guys are that are making the plans. I don't think it's clear what the plans are, but the art is gorgeous. It will make you feel like you're, in the game. If they made a game where they both fought. Is there a game where both of them are in it?
That's why I wanted to ask, because like the way the issue started, like it hits the ground running. Like just you're immediately just like dropped into this and
turtle foot to the face.
Pretty much, and it's just like, yeah, is this like a follow up to like a previous Street Fighter TMNT book? I'm not privy to, like, and I think that was just like my biggest issue with it. It's like, okay, there is a tournament. I wish they had started off with that and actually tell us like, hey, there's a tournament going on. You're gonna see giant turtles fighting. Just a Street Fighter, but it's. I don't know. Like you said, the art is gorgeous, and I love like the fight scenes in it, especially between Chun-Li and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just
super jealous of those thighs.
My gosh,
yeah. So badly. Also, I don't know how she finds pants, which is probably why she was dressed. But
yeah,
it's tough to find pants with good thigh space. If you're a soccer player, you know what I'm saying. Okay. Thank God for stretchy pants. The other thing that tickles my mind is that I swear that there was a movie that I saw recently, which they have a whole discussion about choosing Ken as your main player and how you would beat them. Wish for the world for me I could figure out what it was that I watched, because there's way too much streaming out there, so who knows. And I don't think it was the Spider-Verse movie, although it could have been. So if you guys know which TV or movie recently had a discussion about Street Fighter and choosing, why would you choose anything but Ken, then tell us. All right. I know I read more, but it's just because I picked up a bunch when I first got back, when I realized that we had the stuff from Diamond. I incorrectly labeled this as Lamentation 1 because I couldn't see the number because somebody on staff put the sticker over the number. Oh! But this is Lamentation 2, which I should have known because I think I read the first one. This one is awesome Cullen Bunn. I will tell you, if you want to jump in at 2, you're totally fine because I'm going to tell you what you need to know. So this is, like all good Cullen Bunn series, a good horror romp. And in this one, the premise is, or looks to be, that there is a troupe that is putting on a play in what amounts to a haunted theater. And it feels like the play once started must be completed, but not necessarily with the people that started it. So it looks like people that have been having parts in the play have been killed and are replaced, but they still have to go on. And it jumps back and forth very beautifully between what is like a very clearly we're practicing this on the stage and what looks to be like if you were imagining if it was real what they were acting out, in which if you die, it looks like in the play, that's real death. So it's really, really cool. I think it's a 3-part series. It feels like that's where they're headed because there's only so much, death you can have and care about characters that disappear. But yeah, if you like Cullen Bunn, it does not disappoint. I don't know where he gets all his ideas. I don't know if he just sits around all day long when he's not writing the things that he's thought of and just is like, what craziness can I think of now? Yep, gonna write that, because he's got books out through, I think, just about every company right now. And it's been that way for a long time, so he's not slowing down.
Let's see. Okay, Flash 800. Let's cover all the Flashes and male members of the Flash. So this is it's a milestone issue. It's issue 800 for Flash, and it was a really good send off for the Adams run, which is wrapping up now. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. I can't say like I'm like a huge Flash fan. Like nothing against a character. It's just, and there are storylines involving him that I do enjoy. But I think this is the first Flash run that I've read in about 10 years that I've been following, and this issue is a good send-off to that run, and it also kickstarts the next run written by Cy Spurrier. I apologize if I butchered that name. It'll be out in September, and I really liked it. It was a good celebration issue for the Flash and various Flashes and members of the Flash family. So if you like Flash, highly recommend it. If you don't like Flash, I still recommend it because it's such a well done celebration issue. It's one of those again, if you're not familiar with the character, give it a shot.
Do you think it's a good book to maybe try out if you're interested in watching the movie that's coming up, to give you a little bit more information about the character if you're not familiar?
Well, yeah, because there is a really fun Barry story in there. So that'll be the film version of the Flash. And again, if you enjoy the show, Barry, definitely do recommend it. It's a really sweet story with him and Iris. And it was just a genuinely fun issue. And there's a part that made me laugh where it involves a character named Impulse. And in the little text box is yes, this character did have a comic run. Ask your parents, it existed. And it was and I had to Google. I was wait a second, and it's okay, yeah, I was a toddler when it came out, but all right. And I guess it's showing how long it's been since Impulse has had an ongoing book.
Was it late 90s, early 2000s?
Mid 90s, 95 to 2000. 2001.
I remember the character was really cool looking, and I never read the series.
And his story is really funny.
All right, I'm going to do a couple here just for so we have kind of even-ish. This is Deadpool Batter Blood. It is written and drawn, I believe, by Rob Liefeld. I think Chad Bowers might be either the colorist or the letterer. I couldn't suss that out, but in any case, all of it is really pretty. If you don't like Liefeld's art style, then maybe this isn't for you, but I actually like it because he created the character, so he can make it look the way he wants. So this stars the three that you really love to have together, that make sense together. It's Deadpool and Cable and Wolverine at his most angry. And it feels like it's tied to some storylines that have been going on. It has this character. What was his name? Oh no, I swore I was going to remember it. Oh, I guess that he was buddying around with Deadpool, and then it looks like they've totally messed him up right now, that they've made him a bad guy. Oh, he has a cute name too. He's not cute when he's doing stuff. But this, the issue involves Van Struten, bad guy, all tied to the Weapon H program. And it looks like they've been sent after him to go capture him, but then this character, who they, if I should find out the name of them so you can actually hear it and be Thumper. That's why I was well, it's going to be really easy to remember because it's such a cute name. So that character's name is Thumper. And so this is really great. If you like smack talking and fun one-liners and all that stuff, there's plenty of it here. You get to see Wolverine get stumped by the fact that his adamantium is not, or adamantium claws are not doing what they're supposed to do versus Thumper. And you see what the grand plan is regarding all of these characters. It's actually really great. And it has a good last page spoilerous that I'm not going to tell you. Okay, and there's a bunch of really cool other covers. There's a Killer Scotty cover, which is going to disappear right away. And then there's like 3 or 4 other covers that are just open order ones that are really cool looking. I just wanted to also tell you about this awesome book that's going to be coming out from Scout Comics. It is written by our friend Milton Lawson, who's local to us, and he is amazing. It is called Orson Welles' Warrior of Worlds, and it is going to be releasing August the 16th, so you have plenty of time to add it to your polls. So what it looks like is that it is older Orson Welles kind of like talking to, let's imagine if he was talking to the camera and saying that there's stuff about War of the Worlds. Remember when it was put out where it was presented as, they very clearly said that it was a teleplay and it was a radio play and wasn't real. But the people that missed that initial announcement, they never made it clear after that. And they played it out and people really believed that the War of the Worlds thing was really going on because it was on the radio and it sounded like news. So he addresses that and says that despite what you've been told, that also that misdirection isn't necessarily true. And so it then jumps back in time to a young Orson Welles, who looks like he's part of a group of people and actual aliens that have been put together to go defend against other attacking outsiders. And it sounds dumb, but it's really great. It's like when you can't say how good a thing is with words without ruining it for anybody. It has a good feel of like, if you really adored the Sky Captain of the World Tomorrow feel, those kinds of like old school books, that's what this feels like. Now, I talked to Milton. He wanted to have a pull quote for this, and he says it gets, what do you say? It's like really loses its S farther into the series. So I guess it gets even crazier. So there you go. If you want to read something kind of based in reality, but not, and you like sci-fi, there you go. Put that on your list.
Did you think this was closer? Next issue is Batman 136. So this is kind of a follow-up to what's been happening with Batman, where he was in another, how would I say this? Sort of very far away in a world that looks just like his, but totally different. So he's back home in Gotham, and he's just trying to come to terms with what happened. His family's obviously worried about him because Bruce isn't acting like himself, even by Bruce Batman's standards, and him and Selina, they're kind of like on the rocks again. It's a good, like, quiet issue before stuff hits the fan again.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I really love about Zdarsky's run, whenever I've been on Minute To Skim It and I get the chance to read a Batman book, I just love that he remembers that Bruce cares about his kids, about the Bat family, like that he would do anything for them to protect them, die for them if need be. And just seeing these scenes where they're all like, I guess, domestic and just enjoying each other's company. And I just love just like, pages like that. And of course, in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, this isn't going to last. Something's going to go wrong because it's Batman. But I really did like those scenes. And I loved the final scene between Bruce and Selina, albeit it was very heartbreaking, but it also shows like, hey, communication is key in every relationship. Mm-hmm. Talk to each other so you can avoid the situation they're in now. And it is still kind of trippy to see Penguin's kids. Like, I don't think the spoilers, we know this for like months now.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing how like capable they are. Like, you're thinking, oh, they're just gonna be kind of like losers, dorks. It's like, oh, these are like genuinely frightening characters. So I'm excited to see more of them in the rest of this run. Really liked it.
Are they like twins, or are they like brother sister siblings?
I believe they're. I think they're twins. I'd have to go back and read it again. And this is bad on me. I assume like every like siblings, like unless they like outright say it, which I kind of like assume that they're twins. But yeah, it's a good quiet issue. It's a kind of like a calm before the storm kind of vibe to it, and you also kind of feel dread at the end with a certain character that's been ruining Bruce's life for the past couple of issues.
Still,
it's actually not that one that you're thinking of.
All right, and we're talking about siblings and family craziness. This is a really great series that's been going on. I love through lines for characters, like for Dylan Brock, and for Normie, who lost his dad, right? So he's has his grandpa in his life maybe, but he doesn't have his father, and so that's been a tough race. Hey, Kenneth. So let me see if I can get you all caught up. Okay, so Normie Osborn still has a little piece of the Carnage symbiote, or actually no, it's what is the name of the piece? I'm going to say Rascal, and that's not going to be right. But it's a brand new symbiote birth, so it doesn't have any like preconceived anythings. It doesn't have a direct tie to Carnage. So it's a really great start for him. He really can kind of choose what he's going to do. And he's been, they called him the Goblin Child for a little while. Now he's just fully Red Goblin. And then Cletus Cassidy, he was separated from the Carnage symbiote and was a human for a little while in the series, and now has instead bonded to what amounts to the Red Dragon symbiote, and somehow managed to take the Extremis stuff from Tony Stark and bonded with his entire building, like the Tony Stark Tower. So imagine if you had all the abilities of like Ultron kind of character, but even worse. So he's super powerful, and there he is right now. You can kind of see the uniform underneath. And so this is the story continuing with that in mind, how they're interacting with each other. Lots of family drama, or close family drama. I'm really interested to see how this shakes out, because you kind of feel like they've done everything they could possibly do as the symbiote lore, but this feels fresh and new and not picked over. So it feels very much like we've got, young kids in both of those guys, and that they could be the next generation of characters for, the symbiote family of folks. So I'll be watching it, because he often puts stuff in there that's like first appearances or changing some big parts of the lore. And he teases me all the time about what he's doing. So it's hard for me to talk about the books because I don't know what I can say. So just know he got plans.
Shazam #2. I don't know if that was you wanted to read this, or...
No, that was like, I know I can't say it out loud because, I might convert.
Gotcha.
And I want to wreck everything here.
Okay, so Shazam #2, I've been really enjoying the Shazam run so far. Granted, it's been 2 issues, but Mark Waid is a very good writer. So basically, kind of like what happens at the end of the last issue, Shazam snaps. Like, Billy acts very out of character, and everyone's like, what's going on? Is he okay? So Billy and his family are trying to figure out what's happening. Like, is it someone controlling him? Like, what's the deal? So while he's trying to figure this out, he still needs to do his duties as Shazam. You kind of realize, you start to realize, just straight from the jump, hey, this is someone who has the abilities to mess with your emotions. Like, so obviously it's going to be this person, and I don't want to name drop who it is, but if you're familiar with I guess the DC lore or DC villains, you can kind of figure it out. So you assume, hey, okay, it's going to be this person, and then this big thing that happens in a book, and it's like, oh, wait, hold on a second.
Did they get you good?
They get you pretty good in this, and you're still trying to figure out, like, okay, what is going on, but like in a good way. Everything about the issue that I've been just really digging is just like the tone of the characters, the artwork. Like, it's a genuinely fun issue, or genuinely fun series. Something that I've been really needing for a while. Just something just kind of fun and goofy and not super like edgy and grim and dark, which I don't mind normally, but it's nice to have some balance there. Yeah, I really do hope that people check it out. If you need just, it's like a really fun, goofy superhero comic that's kind of has Silver Age vibes, but modern. Yeah, definitely do recommend this one. Just the artwork, I wish I could open it and show you guys. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and it is part of the bigger launch, the Dawn of DC stuff. So, and then also just a reminder, I think they gave us a little thing you might be finding at your local comic shop this week. They're getting everybody hyped for more Dawn of DC stuff, and they've got some cool bookmarks. And usually they have on the reverse, they got a checklist for you so you can see what is connected to that storyline. And then, of course, there's a bunch of different versions of it, so you can try to make a collection of them because there's Batman ones. And I thought that was really nice of them to do.
Right, like the launch so far, I've been really enjoying it. It's been a while since I've read like every single book from the lines, and I enjoyed them for the most part. There hasn't been a book yet, knock on wood, where I was kind of like, about it, but it's been really fun. So I think I highly recommend it. If you haven't read DC in a while, now's the time to jump back into it. Been killing it so far.
Especially there's another storyline that's going to butt up to this one, which is a much darker storyline. What is that one called?
Night Terrors?
Yeah, Night Terrors with a K. Batman centric, of course, because it's the night. All right, this is a Mutant First Strike. It says before the fall. You can tell that they're leading up to, in the Hickman universe lore, to something pretty big. It's been pretty comfortable as a mutant on Krakoa. Only, random dramas outside, but now you've got Orcus, which is that human organization that is trying to overthrow or thwart or whatever the sovereign nation of mutants that's living on Krakoa or Mars. And they've been trying a bunch of different stuff. But in this one, I think it's very clever. They actually make what looks like a strike on just a regular human city that is very destructive. That looks like it comes from Krakoa, and it has those kind of earmarks. And it also they've added to it some kind of time effect where the effects of this actually are sped up where they were. If we had a strike in a city here, then eventually you have shortages of water and food and all those kinds of resources. Somehow this gets sped up for them. So this is the formation of a cool team that is sent to go in. They realize they have to be kind of like the first responders to this, so it's clear that they did not do it. But there's other stuff that happens. They're in danger. But Orcus is pretty smart. They do a lot of misdirection, and I'm still in love with all of the stuff that's attached to the Hickman universe. There's none of those side stories that I've ever read that I ever thought to myself, I wasted my dollars, or this just feels like filler. It's always forwarding that same idea of eventually the mutants are going to rebel against each other or have another foe that comes that breaks up their happy whatever. And you're going to have good guys and bad guys again for them, but maybe not. We'll see. They might surprise me. Maybe it'll go on forever. And also, I was looking very much forward to reading this series. It's Ben Mortara, The Thieves of the Golden Table. This is book 2. It's by Arnim Shore. And this one is so cool. It feels very much like an Indiana Jones tale, except for the archaeologist in this case has just found out that they're Jewish. So it's a new surprise to them. They don't really know what that means to themselves, but also they have gotten part of a map, and the map is not just an unliving map. It actually things move on it. It's crazy, but it seems to give the location to pieces of Solomon's table, which is from King Solomon's temple. And it is supposed to have some kind of mystical qualities about it, but they found themselves in this book up against some mysterious other benefactor that is trying also to get a leg of the table. So I don't know how many pieces are separated from each other in this case, but if you like a little bit of mysticism and the magic-y stuff that's going on in here, and just the stuff that would normally happen in Indiana Jones tale, but it doesn't feel like a copy in any way, you might like Ben. I feel like I gotta do another, yeah. Okay. And this is Franklin and Ghost #1. Now, I'm familiar with Franklin and Ghost. This is Garrett Gunn and Torres and Lentz. This series characters actually were introduced in a single shot through SourcePoint Press, and then a little short series of 4. This one feels like either they're reprinting the origin story, or they've never told the origin story. I'm not 100% certain, mostly because those early issues are so expensive. I don't want to crack them to find out, honestly. But this one, you can just jump in. Now, Franklin and Ghost is in development at Billy Bob Thornton's production company. It's going to be animated. He's going to do some of the voicing. But it gives you the origin for the 2 main important characters, which is Franklin, which is that fox, and then the ghost, which is just a floating skull head. Imagine that it has all of the tongue-in-cheekness and foul language and violence of all the Garrett Gunn stuff, and you'll be very happy. And unlike the original series, I think the art was by Kit Wallace. I could be wrong about that, but this looks very different from that, and it's great. I like all of his stuff.
Right, Steelworks #1, written by Michael Dorn. Everybody be familiar with him?
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Dorn.
It's gonna drop that just super casually. If you're familiar with the character Steel, if you're not, you can still jump in. You're totally fine. Has a recap, something that I appreciate when comics do this. So the main, I guess, conflict in this is all right, so I want humans to kind of feel like that they don't have to constantly rely on the supers, on the super family. So in case anything pops off, they can kind of defend themselves, or things like that. So he decides to introduce this new initiative to essentially hand out, I guess, free energy to people of Metropolis. Ooh. Of course, this makes people angry because it's like, hey, we make money off of that.
Yeah, anyone actually sells energy.
It's like, wait a second. And of course, the big thing is he's still, how is Superman going to react to not being needed, anymore in his home city. So it's a good introduction to this hopefully soon to be Maxi series. We don't know, but it's a very interesting #1. The only thing I had to critique about it is that it ends really abruptly. Just reading it, okay, I'm digging it. Oh, that's the end. Okay, not even on it's like a cliffhanger. It's just it just ends. It's like, oh well, okay. I still want
to be continued or anything.
It does, but it's just this is such a weird place to end it. But okay. but yeah, I really dig it. It's interesting to see him write a comic book. This is the first time I think I've seen him write a book. If he has, let me know, or post about it in the comments that he's written anything else, because I'm genuinely curious now. And the art is it's really good, and yeah, it's a solid first issue. Like, if you like the movie from the 90s, definitely give it a shot. If you hate the movie from the 90s, still give it a shot. Yeah, do you like Steel? Are you familiar with the character at all?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the show way back then.
Yeah,
I had to refresh myself on it. And I'm also familiar with the character because I watched Superman die, and then he shows up as one of the possibles as being actual Superman. So, it also reminds me a little bit of I'm reading a history about Tesla, and it really does look like Tesla created a way for us to have. We didn't need any transmission wires and unlimited forms of energy, and I don't know where all that they took all his when he passed away. They took all of his documents and stuff, and the government took what they wanted. And we haven't seen that show back up again. So it's just like, it'd be nice to have free energy and a clean world, but I guess not. Okay. He also could have been full of baloney, but all of the rest of his stuff works. I still want to know if Russia actually bought the death ray or not. This is In Hell We Fight. This is a John Layman joint. This one follows initially a character. Where's it? I think this is this guy. He is described as liking to kill frogs and stomp frogs and smash frogs and stuff, and he ends up in hell. And he meets a bunch of other characters in hell, like this guy who took an axe to the head. And this one's a little devil character. I forgot what her deal was. But it's kind of interesting because they find themselves forming a little troop to fight against something that's in hell. It's very cartoony. It's just the way you're used to this kind of artwork. And they have fun quirks. Like the kid that has an axe in his head, if you need an axe to go fight demons, he'll pull the axe out of his head and another one appears there. And then he can pull that axe out so he can hand him off. So he makes axes, infinite axes in hell. Why not? And listen, this one's great. All right, You've Been Canceled. This is by Kurt. I'm going to say his last name right. Pyers. The idea behind this is that we've got really bored in 2040 and there's not enough violence, and we like to cancel people, but we like to do it for real. So it looks like if you get noticed too much on Twitter or whatever, and enough people vote, then you can become canceled. And what that means is there's a bunch of hunters. This is the main character hunter right here, that will come and kill you. And there's a huge twist. A huge twist. And I think you can probably figure out because it's called You've Been Canceled.
Alrighty. Star Wars Empire.
Woohoo!
It's a one shot that they've been doing for Return of the Jedi. And one of my coworkers pointed out that one of the stormtroopers, they look very, very angry somehow through the mask. Like, just it's somehow more like it's glaring. But yeah, like like how I was saying, it's just a one shot. It takes place during Return of the Jedi, and if you're a Star Wars fan, definitely do pick it up. I was very excited to see the Space Teddy bears show up in this issue. Space Teddies. So that puts the book at a automatic like a 10 out of 10 for me because I love the book so much. So the guy, he is basically a contractor for the Empire. So he is so he's working because his family business was totally not taken over by the Empire, totally not forced to work for them. Oh. Totally not. They wanted to do this. It's fine. They're okay with it.
Thank you for the opportunity to serve you.
You didn't have to threaten to kill us. Thank you. So basically, he is on was indoor. He's not having a super great time. He's kind of a loner, and he's just super eager to show them like, hey, I'm really good at my job. And of course, this backfires in a horrific way. It's a funny issue, but in like a really dark way. Like, I'm not gonna say it's like a berry tear, but if you guys are familiar with the show, but it's just like, oh, this poor man. Like, my gosh.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Like, we got to see in the new movies with Yoda a not puppeted version of him, and we got to see him kick butt because you could actually move him around and make him jump and flip and use his lightsaber in a real fast manner. Do you think that maybe people would have a different opinion about how dangerous the Ewoks are if we had a version like that of them instead of very much, like the stuffed teddy bear version of them?
See, I go back and forth with them because I think they're cute, but at the same time, I think they look like little like furry crackheads because like their eyes scare me so much because they look terrifying. Like their eyes are just like, yeah. So I don't know. Like, I'm one of the few people who are like a little bit afraid of Ewoks because they look scary. But I guess to answer your question, like if they did do that, like I don't know. I think it wouldn't be like people would think they're like, oh, they're super, awesome and kick butt. They're like, oh, this is even more terrifying. They're not cute at all.
I mean, they got the point across, right? But they also played campy music when they were doing it, so it made it less likely to be like, ooh, scary. But they can make like a really. I kind of wish. Well, I have the Ewoks comic book right now, and I haven't read it to know if they've kind of like taken that aim with it or not. All right, this is Charles Soule writing Awesome Star Wars. It has a title up here that says, a choice that will chart the fate of the galaxy. So I will say that the issue definitely has everything to do with these lightsabers that you see here. There is a character that I think was probably introduced in the previous issue because they act like they've seen him before. It's Dr. something. I can't pronounce his name. And he wears little tiny slivers of what are force gems around he's got a necklace of them. And it appears that he can talk to them and they can talk to him. So he knows kind of like what their deal is. And in that, you've got Luke, who's been feeling like the force has been a little bit wonky for him recently. And also that the lightsabers that he's carrying is a little bit off. It's one that he picked up, I think, that was in the Jedi Temple. I think it was just like he picked it up. It wasn't his. He didn't choose. He's never chosen a lightsaber, I guess. He's always like either uses father's or this other one. And so he asked the doctor to look at it since he can talk to crystals and try to figure out what's going on. And they find out that his crystal has got a crack in it. And then the doctor actually sends him on a science experiments of sorts by giving him other crystals to kind of like try to interact with them, because I guess that they can be changed in some fundamental way by the force. Mm-hmm. So it's very clear that there is going to be, as part of this storyline, he's either going to make finally his own lightsaber, which he does in the series, or they're going to choose him. I think is much more likely than him choosing them. So it's very cool.
Very nice. Let's see. Peacemaker tries hard. Book 2.
Sorry, 8-year-old boy.
So, chances are, if you're reading this book, you're picking it up because of the show, which you absolutely should. You should also watch the show too, because it's great. It's basically like what I like to tell people here is like, if it's basically to tide us over until season 2 of Peacemaker, when you get it, hopefully next year or in 2025. It's just a really silly, just over the top, gloriously violent comic, and I love it so much. It's a team up I didn't think I would have seen if you had told me that, hey, Peacemaker is going to team up with Monsieur Malala. I always I messed up his name, sorry, but if you had told me that team up was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed you. Yet here we are. He's doing a little but yeah, it's a really fun issue, and it's just so it's really funny to me that the artists they straight up just use like a John Cena's was it likeness. So it really does feel as if it's a Peacemaker 1.5 or something, or even like a Hades, or like the lost episodes from the show. But yeah, from my understanding, I think issue 1 sold out, I believe. I don't know if they'll do a second printing. Oh, yeah, but yeah, it's fun. It's great, and you can be a comic that has a pug named Bruce Wayne. So yeah. Or not a pug, it's a French bulldog. It's really cute.
Oh, Frenchie! I love Frenchies. I would never own one because they sound kind of funky, but they like to make piggy sounds. All right, we both read Loki, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'll let you lead. Okay, so I'll show you. Loki, new series by Dan Waters. Weapons from Loki's past now doom Marvel's future.
So my favorite thing about this issue was the Florida Man connection, because it's like, of course, this makes total sense. Try to say as vague as I can, because I feel like I was kind of spoiling of earlier comics today, but there was a really, really funny punchline involving Florida Man in this issue. But yeah, I really liked it. I was excited for it when it was first announced because I've read the writer's other books for DC and Image, so I was curious to see his take on Loki. Yeah, you just kind of go like, oh, he's in a world of trouble now, and it was for something that wasn't even like his fault. So we'll see what happens there. But I dug it a lot. What do you think?
So the premise that I understand from the book is that Loki has been acting again as king of his original kingdom, since he is a frost giant, but decides to, I don't know, go on a vacation to Florida. That part's unclear to me. But while he's gone, he wants to give the rest of the frost giants something to do so they don't, devolve into civil war or whatever. And so he thinks that because much of their history and lore and all that stuff is, based in literature, that they should learn how to read, which backfires on him big time. And it also involves a magic boat. I feel very much like the boat is not the most important part of the story, but maybe it is.
Well, I would say it is, because it's if you're familiar with Norse mythology and Loki, I'm pretty sure you know what boat she's referring to. So the boat, it does play a big part, and I did love there's this series of panels where they played with the perspective of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
It just plucks it, and it's really I really like that.
What size is this boat?
Yeah, it's like wait, what? But yeah, it's an interesting start to this series. I'm curious to see how it ends, because it seems like with Loki books, it's very usually end bittersweet. Yeah. I'm curious about how this one will.
Always cautionary tales, right?
Right.
Trigger warning: if you dislike fingernails, you won't like it.
Yeah, this was it was a good issue, but I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
They start out with it too. It's kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm making it through this part.
It's got a flip page.
Oh, thank you. Okay, and I think my last one is The Sins of the Salton Sea, which I'm so glad actually came in because I was desperate to read it. It's Ed Brisson and C.P. Smith. AWA has been talking about this for a long time. They sent me advanced copies of it, but I don't like to read digital copies. It's just my own personal preference. There's something about my eyes that it hurts my eyes to do it. So this one is just like every perfect movie you've ever watched, and storyline, really. There's a lot of books that start this way, where you have a character who has a previous history with the character that then enters into frame to talk this character into rejoining to do one last heist or whatever, and then everything goes terribly wrong. So it's like ambulance, and I'm trying to think of all the movies that are exactly that same premise. We're like, no, just do this one last thing. You'll help me out. I'll be able to get out, or you'll be able to get out.
Yeah.
You'll be clear. John Wick ends the same way. You have to do this one last thing, and you can be out. So yeah, it's brilliant. It's really great art. It looks just like that cover. It's all gorgeous. You could see it like be on the screen immediately. You're casting it in your brain. And yeah, it's the brilliant. I'm very happy with it for sure. Glad I dug in.
So my last issue, our last comic of the day, is going to be the new talent showcase for the Milestone Initiative. So there's a really good documentary on Max. Well, it's called Max now, about Milestone Comics, the founding of it, the major creators who worked there. And I highly do recommend it. And during the documentary, towards the end, they mentioned the Milestone Initiative. Basically, it's a way for writers of different colors, genders, and sexualities to basically write in comics. And these are stories written by people who joined the program and that initiative. And the stories I read just makes me excited to see what else they can come up with. I hope to see these names working at DC, Marvel, Image, whatever company, because there were some really good stuff that I read in this issue. Hoping this is gonna be one of those situations where it's like in a few years, it's like, oh yeah, I read this story in the Milestone Initiative that they did. Basically, each story, it follows a different Milestone character. So you have the first story follows it follows Rocket and Static, on one of their first dates or whatever. So, and of course they're fighting crime at the same time because teen superheroes. But yeah, it was just genuinely fun, and seeing these characters written through the lens of someone who of people who grew up reading Milestone comics or watching Static or things like that, or watching Icon and Rocket on Rocket on Young Justice. It is exciting to kind of see this book be written. I'm hoping that they do another showcase like this, because I just want to see different creators come up and do their thing. Highly recommend it. If you love Milestone, if you have a hankering for Milestone, this is a issue to check out. It's all self-contained. It's not necessarily canon to what's going on in current Milestone books, so you don't have to read, or of course read them, but you don't have to know what's going on in current titles now. You can just jump right in and you're good, which I really appreciated.
Oh, so yeah, that's perfect for because Milestone has been back for a while, but it might be intimidating to jump in just to the main titles. This is the perfect kind of do I like these characters? Would I like these characters? I like these characters when they were created. Would I still like them now?
Exactly.
Would I like them written by different voices? This is a perfect thing. I like that they do this, and I like that Top Cow continues to do theirs, because they've had a lot of big voices come out of their yearly initiative for everyone gets to just put out something original for them. It's not based on any of their characters, of course. It's based on whatever they want to write, but
right.
They found some good stuff that way. We love the old voices, trust me, but we got to have new ones too. It's important. Did we get all of them? I think we did. That's crazy. Just real fast, there's a new Han Solo and Chewbacca trade that is dropping. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World dropping. You can have a hardcover Wonder Woman Historia, which is the gorgeous. And it looks like a new Spidey. And there's some cool new posters that are dropping, Marvel posters that are dropping at your LCS. So if they're really sweet and they're not sticking them on their windows, you might be able to talk them out of some of them. I haven't looked at them to see what they are. I bet you they're really cool, though. Fingers crossed there's some miles in there.
I hope it's possible.
Usually they're tied to books that are coming out soon, but hope springs eternal that they were planning for the fact that there's a movie out. Thank you guys so much for joining us every week for Minute to Skim It. If you have a friend that you think would benefit from hearing about books that are coming out, maybe they're a little bit afraid of jumping into books and they don't really know what they're about, we're a safe place for them to come in and kind of hear about them. Maybe there's something that we talked about this week that you think a friend would like. You can always point them at this. They're always posted on the experience, and we also share them to our page, Space Cadets Collection, and I usually share it to my page, Miss Jen. So you have lots of places you can share it from. But more importantly than all of that, make sure that if you can, go and support your local comic shop this week. Even if you only have $5 to spend, that will absolutely keep your LCS happy. If everybody goes and supports their LCSs with that much money every week, then they will never have a problem with staying in business, and it lets them see your face, which they like. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more awesome things here on The Experience. We'll see you guys next week for Minute to Skim It. Bye, y'all.